Hello, hello everyone. When I was trying to put together the speech, right, I was thinking about the way how to introduce it because the cybersecurity, it's not a very funny topic, right? So I wanted to start with something positive. I'm thinking really hard. By the way, I'm based in Prague, right? So we're quite close to the eastern part of Europe, where a lot of stuff is going on right now. I don't need to talk about that into the bigger detail, right? But the point is that, the happy thing about this is that finally we can meet each other like a face-to-face, at least, right? So that's really great. On the other hand, there's, doing the business as usual is even harder. It's like, once we survived, most of us like a COVID, right? The organizations went through that. For some, it was, let's say, quite hard times. For some, that helped them to accelerate their business. But now, when we are facing the aftermath, there's also the conflict in the Ukraine, right? Which is impacting a lot of stuff also related to the energy thing, related to the, I would say, the different types of products and so on, right? And of course, above it all, there's a climate change. And this is, by the way, the thing which doesn't wait for us, right, for the mankind. So we need to jungle a lot of stuff at the same time, and to be able to tackle these situations, the organizations move, or they went through the digital transformation, or they are still going, many of them, through the digital transformation efforts. And that means that we are all, let's say, based or depending on the data, right? But where's the data, there's also the threat, right? So that's also the possibility that someone comes and could steal the data, or at least could ask for some ransom, right? So let's start with some numbers at the very start, because that's what you expect from IDC, right? Coming with some numbers. And you can see that almost like a half of the respondents to IDC survey, they stressed out that they're already suffering from a ransomware attacks, right? And looking at the other numbers coming from IBM, at this research, that the cost of such a data breach was around, let's say, like $4 million. So it's enormous, really, right? And I would like also to say that I don't want to sound like over dramatic here, but these are the times which are going to be even tougher, because it's not like some random small groups of hackers, right? But a lot of these attacks are led or provided by the state-organized or state-led, let's say, gangs. Let's put it like that, right? And it's really hard to protect, right? We always say that this is not a question of if, but it's about when, by whom, and to the what extent, right? And if you add to this environment the legacy systems, the shadow IT, the concerns about addressing the data privacy and regulatory compliance, you get a perfect storm, right, for this cyber attacks. And in the middle of this storm, unfortunately, stands the manufacturing, right? So this is where I'm coming from. This speech is not about the manufacturing itself, right? But in this case, it fits very well, because you can see that 64% of the manufacturing organizations are suffered from the attack. Right? I don't want to go through all the numbers, but if you look at the very last number, that's like 7 days of disruption. If there's something happened, the companies are being affected for the 7 days, right? So, and if you, from that environment where I'm coming from manufacturing, for automotive, you can see that every second counts, right? And here we talk about 7 days. It's huge, right? So it's enormous. And why now, right? So why this wasn't, why the manufacturing, or not such manufacturing, but also let's put it like, it's like an operations intensive environment, right? So it's beyond manufacturing. It could be oil and gas, could be power utilities and the other industries. Why now, right? So we see that there are many efforts which are related to the digital transformation, which were, as I said before, accelerated by the COVID-19, right, by the pandemic. So we talk about the work from anywhere, right? We talk about the remote services. We talk about the complex supply chains, right? Which needs to be really visible, flexible, and so on. And now also we're going to talk about let's say the operation itself, right? And this is where we talk about the convergence of IT and OT side, right? And this is making this environment extremely vulnerable, right? So for those who are not very well, let's say, familiar with the IT/OT convergence approach, let's demonstrate a little bit, right, on this image. So you can see that there's a one part these are the control systems on the asset level. On the other hand, there are the IT infrastructure, or let's say the enterprise IT, right? So like ERPs and the others, right? So these two worlds are coming together, and they're starting at the level of the product or asset and goes to the ecosystem, or even like an enterprise level, or enterprise the first and the ecosystem level, right? So really, as I said again, extremely vulnerable. You don't have it under the control because it's beyond the four walls of the organization, right? And this is just like I would say, perspective of technology, but also as the technology is traditionally divided, then also the security teams have been divided, right? So there are also people taking care of the IT security and the people taking care of the OT security, right? And now they're the time where they need to work together, and that's hard, right, for them. If you look at there's a number of issues, right, they need to cope with, right? So very briefly, because I'll go through that very briefly, because of course the other speakers or we're gonna maybe discuss there, or even you got, let's say, like a better understanding of what's going on there in technical way. But let me tell you that this is the area where the traditional IT tools are just not enough, right? They are not providing certain, I would say, benefits for the OT side, because on OT this is about the proprietary industrial protocols, right? So you need to have an OT security tools which are able to read through these protocols, but these tools, they don't provide, let's say, a business context, right, to the users, right? So that's why we need to think about the one, let's say, unified approach in this area. And also, when it comes to the OT, it's been referred mostly as a, let's say, like a no-touch security thing, right? So meaning that there are tools which are able to identify, classify, whatever, right? So they are able to do the log management, detect some anomalies, right? That's the thing. But they are short of, let's say, doing some sort of like a preventive actions. Let's put it like that. From the perspective of the, I would say, challenges, right? They are, let's say, the three key groups. Let's put it this way, right? So I always think about it, let's say, from a perspective of the legacy systems. In many organizations, asset intensive or operations intensive ones, that they are really having this like IT legacy systems, OT legacy systems, and there's a number of industrial protocols, heterogeneous OT systems, right? So that's something which should be taken into account when thinking of the broader cybersecurity, let's say, the landscape, right? When it comes to infrastructure, it's extremely important that the infrastructure provides the information also about the assets' behavior and about the risks, right? And finally, organization. I already mentioned that there are the two worlds, people working in a different teams, but it's not just like that, right? Because we did a survey with the chief information security officers like a year ago, and according to them, one of the three obstacles, in their jobs were the budget constraints. It's probably not a surprise, right? Because everybody needs maybe more money to perform the job better, in a better way. The next would be the lack of understanding and support from a top management, right? Because cybersecurity is something which everybody fears of, but when it comes to the investment, right, it's something which you don't see, right? So it's not like buying like a new machine, right, or the new asset, right, for production or for, I don't know, like in that operations environment. And the third would be the fact that sometimes the CISOs, they just like had the feeling that their people, the people they are managing, they are rather maintaining and maintaining mostly these security tools rather than doing this, let's say, like investigations, right? So, and this is also one of the hurdles here. I just come up or pull up for you some manufacturing examples. We don't need to go that much into the detail because you can read around and about it everywhere. It's not a point. But let me share a couple of thoughts here or remarks. Like most of these cases were ransomware attacks, and also what's very interesting is that it was mostly the IT part of the business which were attacked, right, or which was attacked, right? So not the OT that much, but that the attack on the IT side also impacted the OT, right? Because then suddenly the assets were invisible for the IT systems. So in a lot of these cases, the company needed to shut down the operations or to just to wait or to reduce the operations, right? The next interesting situation was also that even if there's a company which is thinking, I would say that we have it all, we are 100% secure, but they still have a supply chain, they still have some partners, they still have some, let's say, tier suppliers, right? And that happened quite recently to Toyota, right? So that not themselves directly, but their suppliers were attacked, right? Like a Denso, for example, in this case, right? So, and this is also affecting the business of Toyota, right? So it's not just about the company itself, but it's about the surroundings, right? And this is what I think is the manufacturing or this, again, operations intensive environment unique, right? When you think about the threats. And now I'm getting to the part which is talking about it. I mean, what should be the chief information security officers thinking we just say in 2022, right? But it's, I mean, generally speaking, also beyond that. And these are, let's say, 5 areas, right? The first would be the resilience. Because as I said, it's not about if, but it's about when, right? So the organizations really need to think about how to keep their organization from a perspective of cybersecurity even more resilient. That means to have a right tools, right organization in place. Also to have such a infrastructure which is enabling to understand the behavior of the assets, right? Next one would be we call it help, right? And that's also interesting fact that a lot of the security teams, they remain understaffed, right? So we do a lot of interviews with the IT experts from mostly from manufacturing environment, and this is one of the, I would say, top 3 things we're discussing, right? Understaffed teams. By the way, in Europe is going to be short, or is already short, 200,000 IT security experts, right? Next one would be consolidation, and this is related to the skills shortage, right? Because of course you can have even if you're a complete team, that the skill shortage is still an issue, right? Because this is the area, cybersecurity is the area which is transforming in a very rapid way, and it's hard for one organization to be able to cover everything in such a rapid pace, right? So it's very important to be able to set up the sort of environment, like we call it, like an ecosystem, right, of the vendors, service providers, and so on. Next one would be the convergence, right? As I already mentioned, there's a convergence between IT part and the OT operation technology side. So thinking about how to bridge this gap by, for example, establishing a unit of digital engineers. That's some term or the story which IDC developed 2 years ago, and which fits very well to this theme. And finally, the last topic was the trust, right? How to set up the trust, because trust is vital for the company, and it goes beyond the zero trust approach, right? Because this is also about managing the risk, managing the privacy, and being really understood as a trusted partner, right? For the customers and also for the people who are working within the company. So I'm just getting to the end of my keynote, and I would like to share maybe a couple of call to actions. So the first one would be, think about really the IT OT from environments from a perspective of cybersecurity as a one, I would say one place to focus, right? Try to or bridge this gap between these two. Set up such a security tools which are able really to go to read, understand these proprietary industrial protocols, because it's a key source of information, right, for the security systems. Provide the security team the full visibility of operations. This is extremely important. And finally, adopt that resiliency concept, right? Because, as I said already before, this is not about if, but it's about when and to what extent. Thank you very much.